Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. This is Chifaa Podcast with Maha Jouini. Today I want to tell you about a woman who changed how I think about illness. Her name was Radwa Ashour. She was an Egyptian novelist, a professor of English literature at Cairo University, a poet, a freedom fighter, an intellectual, and one of the most important Arabic writers in the 20th century. She was also, for many years, living with illness, and she wrote through it, not about it or about it from a distance, but through it from inside it with the same clarity and fire that she brought to everything else she wrote before. She died in 2014, but the questions her work raises about what it means to stay a human in the face of illness, about the relationship between creativity and healing, about resistance and as a way of surviving. Those questions feel more necessary every year. Today, I want to explore those questions, not as a literary exercise, but as a conversation about what women with cancer in North Africa need and what storytelling and self-expression can give them that medication alone cannot. Who was Radwa Ashour? Let me give you a portrait of Radwa. Not just her biography, but her significance. She was born in Cairo in 1946. She studied Arabic literature, then went to the US for her doctorate, writing a groundbreaking thesis on African American literature. She returned to Egypt and taught for decades at Cairo University, where she was known not just as a brilliant scholar, but as a teacher who genuinely changed students' lives, especially female students' lives. She wrote fiction that refused to be small. Her most famous work, the Granada Trilogy, tells the story of the fall of Muslim Spain, the loss of Andalusia in 1492, ثلاثية غرناطة, through the eyes of a family living through that catastrophe. It is a novel about displacement, about what survives when everything seems to be taken, about the stubbornness of culture and memory in the face of erasure and tyranny. She was also married to the Palestinian poet Murid al-Barghouthi, and so her life was in many ways a sustained engagement with the loss of Palestine, with exile, with the experience of people living under occupation. She wrote about these things without sentimentally and without despair, with honesty. And then came illness, and she wrote about that too. Radwa's long struggle with cancer is reflected with extraordinary honesty in her autobiographical book titled أثقل من Radwa, means heavier than Radwa. And her final work, As-Sarkha, it's the Arabic word of the scream, where she documents the psychological and physical weight of the disease with the rare clarity and transparency. In one of the hospital scenes, she distills the experience into a single sentence. أقصى ما في المرض هو كسر الكبرياء, means the cruelest thing about illness is breaking the pride. She describes the moment when the bell call slips from her hands and she cannot reach it. A small incident that exposes the depth of enforced dependency and loss of control. In another passage, she recalls how the touch of a simple white cotton dress brought her unexpected call. هل أتى لي القميص بأمي فانكسرت تلك الغربة ربما. Did the dress bring my mother to me so that estrangement broke? Perhaps here illness meets memory and human warmth. The fabric becomes a bridge between the sterile space of the hospital and the intimate presence of her mother. She also writes that the worst thing about illness is that it unsettles your confidence in yourself, so that fear seeps in, the fear that you are no longer capable and will not be able to go on. She captures not just pain, but the anxiety that illness might steal from her. The very tools she lives by, reading and writing. What is remarkable is not that she kept writing while she was sick. Many writers do, but it is the quality of that writing, the refusal to make illness poetic in a way that softens it, the resistance on looking at what is actually costs and what it does not take. Radwa Ashour's writing teaches us that illness is not a story about weakness or strength. Illness, it is a human experience, complex, costly, and survivable through honesty, not performance. Writing as a resistance. I want to use this word resistance carefully because it gets used in two different ways around illness. The first way is one we hear in survivors' stories and awareness campaigns. She fought bravely. She was a warrior. She never gave up. This language positions cancer as a battle and the patients as a soldiers. And while I understand why people find it motivating, I think it does something harmful. It makes survival a matter of will and character, which means that the women who die or who are afraid of who grieve or whom have bad days have somehow failed. That is not resistance. That is performance. Radwa Ashour kind of resistance was different. It was the refusal to be reduced, the refusal to be defined entirely by illness. Cancer is not my identity. Cancer is not Radwa's identity. To let suffering be the whole story. She continued to think, to write, to teach, to love, to argue, to be curious about the world. Not because she was fighting cancer in the warrior sense, but because she was insisting on remaining fully herself, on not allowing this illness to erase everything else she was. That is what I mean by resistance. The insistence on personhood, the refusal to disappear. And this, I think, is one of the most important things storytelling does for people with serious illness. It gives back a sense of authorship, the feeling that you are telling your story, not just having something happen to you. Research in narrative medicine, a field that studies in the therapeutic effects of storytelling, consistently shows that patients who are able to articulate their experience of illness have better psychological outcomes, stronger engagement with treatment, and greater sense of agency. This is not mysticism. It is documented. Language, al-lugha, and the body are connected. When you can say what you are going through, you bear it differently. Storytelling is not a comfort supplement to medical care. It is a dimension of healing. The ability to narrate your experience changes your relationship to it. What this means for North Africa, what this means for North African women in particular. I'm a writer and I have written 2 books in Arabic. One's about memory, identity, North Africa, the particular texture of belonging to this part of the world. And when I was going through my own treatment, I found something I did not expect. The writing kept me sane. Not because writing about cancer is therapeutic in some simple sense, but because the days when my body felt completely outside my control, when decisions were being made about my treatment by doctors I trusted but did not always fully understand, writing was the one place where I was completely in charge, where I chose the words, where I decided what to say and how to say it. That feeling of authorship, of agency, is something that illness strips away systematically. It dehumanizes me. The medical system makes decisions for your body. Your body does think without your permission. Your family wars in ways you cannot always control. And in the middle of all of that, to sit down and write something that is entirely yours, that is a form of power that illness cannot take. Now, not every woman has access to this. Not every woman has been taught that her story is worth telling, or that she has the right to tell it. In North Africa, Shamal Africa, in North African cultures, where women's inner lives are often considered private or unimportant, the idea that a woman could and should write about what she is experiencing can feel radical, but it does not require normal writing. It can be a voice note, a letter, a friend, a message in a WhatsApp group, a prayer in her own words, any act of giving language to what she's going through. And this is something Chifaa is trying to support, not by asking women to become writers, but by creating a space where they can put into words what they are carrying, where the act of articulating their fear, their questions, their grief makes those things more remarkable and manageable, where they feel that their experience has been heard and witnessed. Radwa Ashour gave herself that witness through her writing. We are trying to give it to women who may not have another way to end. Every woman has a story worth telling. The act of telling it in any form is part of surviving it. Radwa Ashour lived until the very end as someone who insisted on thinking, on creating, on being present in the world. She did not die quietly. She died as she had lived fully. I want that for the women of North Africa, for the women of the global South who are living with cancer, not the unrealistic expectations of positivity or bravery, but the insistence on remaining fully oneself. Curious, creative, complex. Here, in our final episode, we will close the episode with a philosophical question that has haunted medicines for decades. What happens when we put the wrong kind of language on illness. We will look at the ideas of Susan Sontag and ask what they mean for women in North Africa today. I'm Maha Jouini, and this is the Chifaa Podcast. Thank you.